Okay, so today's video we're going to look at how to make a set of tongs, and chances are this is going to be probably the fastest way you're going to be able to make a set of tongs. I've spent some time thinking about it. I don't know if it's going to work. If you see this video, it did work, and it's also going to be the easiest sets of tongs you're going to be able to make. It's actually a kind of a design that I came up with in my head, and I'm hoping that it'll work, because it means that we can knock out tongs like really quickly. They'll be strong, and of course they're really easy for beginners. So let's get started on that. Now before we do though, we have to explain what is in a set of tongs, so you have a bit of better understanding, especially as beginners, but it'll also help me explain where I'm going with this one, okay? So of course many of you know, we have a set of reins. So the reins actually have to be a certain thickness. They cannot be too thick. Even in like really heavy tongs like this, they're still a bit on the thick side. They're very thin, so otherwise the set of tongs would be too heavy. Then the boss has to be much thicker because it has to accommodate the hinge, and the side walls of this hinge have to be a certain thickness so that they don't wear out so quickly. Now, generally speaking, the actual jaws have to be a certain thickness as well, but with this method we can actually get around that. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I have a bar. The thickness is a limiting factor. I know that I can't have it thicker than 1/2 inch, otherwise the tongs will be too heavy, so that's good. Now if I want to make a boss here, that's going to be a problem, because generally when you punch a hole in here, it's not going to be thick enough. So I'll show you in a minute how we get around that. And also of course, the jaws are not thick enough, but we'll get around that as well. So without explaining it beforehand, I think we'll just get started maybe, and I'll just explain it as we go along. But just suffice to say, we can actually use 2 bars like this, and we can make pretty much any type of tongue that is going to actually hold any type of stock, and I'll explain that all in this video. Put the dent in here, bend it down, turn it to the left, put the dent in there, which will be that way, and then we can bend it downwards. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the boss, but of course the reins are the limiting factor here. So the way to get around it, well, first let's talk about what normally you would do. You'd normally make your pair of tongs, let me show you, and you would have pretty much the boss spread out nicely, and that would be great. You could drill through it or round punch it, and you would have the right size rivet without actually weakening the side walls. Now the problem is, if you do that in a very small bar, like this 1/2 inch bar, then what's going to happen is you're either going to, when you drill it, lose a lot of material and the walls are going to be very, very thin, or worse, if you punch it, you're going to also, as you're punching it, you're going to drift it to the size of that rivet that you want it to be, and that's going to even stretch the walls further and make them even thinner, and then that's never going to work. Now this method I actually watched on YouTube, which is actually somebody was making a garden, I forget who it was, but they're making a garden gate, and in that they slot punched their bar, and that kind of gave this effect, which is again exactly the same method. And you can see here, you have a lovely boss area there, which is 1/4, it's half the thickness of your actual material. And what they did is they put actually a round bar through it as part of their gate. And I'm just reusing that method as, a way of making a boss, so that seems to be working really well. So yeah, so the way I think of it in this way. the wider your actual slot punch is, the more it allows to accommodate your drift, not the other way around. So it doesn't actually stretch the side walls. So you'd have a very big boss, maybe that size, like that, and the rivet would be about that big, but yet the wall would still remain the same, which is about 1/4 of an inch. By the way, this is not hardened, as in the slot punch is not hardened. It's very hard and tough material. Now, I went off a little bit, just a 1/2 millimeter to one side. It won't matter, but it's better if you. If I were to get this a bit more centered, would have been better. But it's not too bad. There we go. Yep, there it went. And there we have ourselves a slot punched. Alright, so spread this out first. And I think we'll get away with it without having to go for another heat. And then we have a boss that is good enough. The reins, I would like them normally much longer, but it's just I didn't have enough material. They're not too heavy, they're actually pretty good. The boss, of course, it will last. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, the jaws is what we need to talk about, basically, at this stage. So basically, you can make any type of jaw that you want using this method. You just got to bend it where it needs to be bent. And that is still plenty strong to hold for a long, long time. This is metal we're using here. It's going to wear out. Everything's going to wear out eventually. But I can't see this not lasting a long time. It's 2/3 of the thickness of the bar. And you can, using that little method of making that indentation, you can bend it any way you want. You could even make like we're still going to adjust these. We're going to squish them together by whacking here, there, like alternating and squeezing that together. But you could, for instance, have another bend here, and maybe there in that direction, and then you would have like a type of box jaw tongs. You saw the hammer eye tongs. There are a lot of different options here for this, if you just have to think about how you're going to set it up. So that's it. Let's rivet that, and then we adjust them and we're done. Okay, I forgot to press record on my, sorry about that. Basically, you just bang it down straight and then round it off like that. Actually, it turns out that was really a bad idea in regards to, one second, in regards to the actual riveting. You want to do that as the very last step, because you need to be able to tighten it again and again, because it's going to loosen a little bit with the heat and things like that. Let's just adjust these first.
So really, I just need to get this guy down a little bit. So that's pretty good.
I think the whole idea of riveting is much better than doing it like this. That's already worked. So now it's tempting to actually adjust this, but I'm going to wait until that cools down and then just heat up the front section. Then I can still adjust a little bit. I want to also be able to hold some round stock. That's better actually. And next time I'm definitely not using a bolt, I can tell you that. So there we go, a set of bolt jaw tongs. Now that's it. Sorry about the long video. I don't know actually how long it's going to end up being, but I did explain a lot in this video, I think. And I don't know how much I'm actually going to, my future self is going to edit into it. Yeah, so they look actually, from here they look really, really fancy. And I especially like the way that squared off when we round it, when we put in that round indentation. I just think it looks really neat somehow. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's just see. Yeah, it's wobbling a little bit, so probably not a good idea. I'll have to make another set just for the round. For the square, I mean, I indexed it using this. That's really solid. That's going to hold really well, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, so that's basically it. It's a very specific tong, you know, it's going to hold just the one thing and it's going to hold it really well. So let's just really quickly talk about, we had a break-in, I wanted to just quickly mention that as well. Basically my motor of the power hammer got stolen, the pump next door, my pump is gone. They took the cables off my welder, they left me the welder, which is really weird. They took my angle grinder, they took my blower, and so you can imagine I came in and I was like, everything's gone and I couldn't do any blacksmithing, so I bought a new blower, the same one actually, same model, but I'm not going to replace anything else. I'll probably leave the power hammer here. It's not broken. I don't want you thinking that it's no good. It's just that basically, and it was a, you know, the power hammer really was just a prototype, and I would use a motorcycle. I can't wait to try that out at some stage, but I don't want to waste the money on a motor right now because I don't know how long I'm going to stay in India, and that's something I will build in the future as well. So the method is good, trust me on that one. You know, it was a bit of it looked a little bit gimmicky because the bicycle is very, very weak and I made it out of a cast iron, but trust me on that one. It's actually a good method if you use a motorcycle. You save yourself, half the thing is already built. You know, for home, you know, power hammer is not a bad thing. So yeah, bummer, hey? Oh well. I mean, you know, in real terms it was only like 400 euros or something like that. So that's $500. It's a lot of money, you know, but it wasn't a huge amount because Indian prices, so not too bad. Anyway, that's being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. There's the tongs, everything's cool. Try them out. Try out the other pair as well, the forge welding one. Thanks Roy, by the way, for sharing that video. Really appreciate that. It made my day when you did that. It's really great. Yeah, and just to get feedback from a lot of people who know what they're doing. You know, I kind of just made that up on the spot, and I am aware of other people having done that. I mean, you know, when you're in blacksmithing, you're always going to reinvent the wheel once in a while. Because it's just you know, you're trying stuff that's going to save you time, save you work, you know, and you end up making pretty much the same things over the centuries. So yeah, so that's it, concludes the video. Hope you liked it, and yeah, see you in the next one.